everybody. Tracy Allen, Living in My Truth. It's Wednesday night. Here we go. How's everybody? I'm going to wait for some of you to come on. Let me get this one ready. See if I can pop it right up. Try. There it is. Hey, Tracy Allen, living in my truth, y'all. Got a Wednesday down for work. Hey, thanks whoever's sending those hearts. Appreciate that. This is to all of you. Thank you guys for coming on. Definitely. Hey, it's the holidays, y'all. Got 2 more down. We got to make it through 2 more. You know, shouting out to all my brothers and sisters that staying sober, staying clean, you know, keeping yourself on a steady ground. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful. You know, I tell you, prayer does it all. Just, you know, do that prayer thing, and that's what time it is. Hey. Hey, April. How are you? You're my first person on tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, just saying, you know, for all the still suffering addict and alcoholics, I'm proud of you. You know, that you all are still staying clean. You know, hey, Coretta. Yeah. Absolutely beautiful. 60 days, girl. That is a blessing. One day. Just one day. One day at a time, baby girl. One day at a time. That is the biggest blessing of them all. Because, see, them days add up to those 60s. So you doing the darn thing. Absolutely. Hey, Coretta. How you doing, girlie? Oh, you did such an awesome job last week, man. It was a great show. Great, 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 great live. I've been watching it and watching it and watching it. You know, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. April, I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. Absolutely. In fact, I'm going to send you some hearts. And congratulations. Congratulations. Won't God do it? He will do it. I tell you. Yeah. We got to stay, you know, stay on. I'm going to come on after, you know, this live here. I'm going to come on a couple times, you know, through the week. You know, maybe through, you know, I can't say how many, but I'm going to come on a few more times for the week for the still suffering, you know, addicts and alcoholics today, you know, and anybody who's suffering with any type of addiction or disease. You know, holidays are very hard for a lot of us, you know, and it's a festive time, you know, when we used to be doing all these things, you know, and having a good time. Would you say, you said Nicole Garua, she lives in my house. She says, hi, Miss T. Tell her I said, hey. I'm so proud of y'all. Hey, Carolyn. What's up, Carolyn? What's up? Y'all just make me feel so good when I turn this thing on and you guys just coming on. I know that's Mike most likely coming on. Let me see. Hey, Mike. That's my brother. Hey, Miss Draper. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because once again, today, you're the first one, to be honest. And back to you, buddy. Back to you. If no one told any of you that they love you today, I definitely love you. You know. is nothing more than loving self to be able to love and share to others. It's a beautiful thing, beautiful thing. You know, how you doing, Mike? Holding up? I know you are, my brother. I was just sharing with them how the holidays can be a little rough, you know, not just for addiction, just financially, everything. You know what I mean? Make the best of it what you can. Don't go over your head and try to do what people want you to do. Do what you can do. You know, that's where I'm at. I'm broke. I'm not doing none of that, all the gifts and stuff. I can't do it this year, you know. But I just still put up the trees and stuff because I just felt like it. You know, it's like therapy for me. And every time I look at them, you know, it just makes me feel good. You know, but ain't a gift going. Ain't a gift going under there, y'all. I enjoy looking at them. Hey, KD. Hey, sweetie. Mwah. Love you. Love you. I'm waiting for you to come on this couch, too. I want you to know that. I'm truly waiting for you. You know, every time I come on here, I get to rubbing my hands and doing all this stuff. I don't know why, you know, but I do. It's funny. Yeah, I got some good sharing for y'all tonight, though. I'm just coming off on. I'm real concerned about the holidays for people. You know what I mean? For some of us, you know, because again, like it's a festive time, you know, and everybody celebrates and, you know, drink and, you know, get high and do what they do, you know, part of their celebration, you know, and we can miss that, you know, especially in young recovery, you know, we can miss that, you know, because disease, those type of things are triggers, and disease is cunning, babbling, and powerful, we all know, you know, and it'll try to get you. So be aware. Just stay aware. Stay aware and alert and keep it in front of you, not behind you. I want to throw that out there. I need to throw that out there every time I come on. Hey, Nina and Ricky, how you doing? Yeah, you know, hey, Pam, my sister. What's up, y'all? I'm going to send some hearts. I'm loving it. I appreciate you all. Y'all know I love them hearts. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. You know, you guys can also, again, y'all know I'm going to come through and send me stars. You know what I mean? If you can, you know, send stars on here. If not, I'm going to put my Cash App if you guys want to donate, you know, to Living in My Truth. I'd appreciate that. Hold up. What am I doing? Oh, 4. Okay. There you go. I'm going to send my Cash App through. Let me see. There you go. You guys can send a Cash App through. Hey, Stacy. And Daryl, how you doing? Thanks for coming on, y'all. Thanks for coming on. I sent my Cash App through. If anybody want to send a donation, I would appreciate that. You know, for the LNMT Awards this year. You know, I keep saying I'm going to come back on with the merchandise, and I am going to come back on. You know, y'all can purchase something through that. You know, that's a donation too, you know. So, hey, Stay. I will be putting back, I was going to do it in there tonight, but I'm just not feeling that right now tonight. But y'all know, you know what I have. I have pocketbooks. And you know what? I have some real nice clothing, shoes, and boots that I'm going to be putting on as well. You know, all of them are authentic pieces, and they gotta go. They gotta go. So you guys might be interested in that too. I'm gonna combine it somehow, and when I come on with the LNMT boutique, you know, so be looking for that, you know. They're very nice, they sure nice, you know, so, you know, whatever, but helping support me with living in my truth. I'm so grateful, you know, for the ones of you so far that has done that. I really appreciate it, you know, and, you know, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, you know, to even participate in such a honorable affair, you know. Just seeing the faces on, you know, all of the honorees last year was just heartbreak. It was beautiful, you know, and they really appreciate it. So I'm going to continue and keep it going. It's a nice event for us, you know what I mean? And every time I do it, I'm going to make it better and better and better, you know. So I appreciate the donations, you know. So you can send stars or you can cash at whatever you want. I don't care what it is. It'd be $1. Don't make me a difference, you know. A donation is a donation, you know. So I'm not asking anybody to dig deep and, you know, do anything like that. But for every week I come on, it helps me to, you know, do more things, you know, do pretty much put this whole thing together, you know, for, you know, our honorees. And some of you that's on here, I really want to, I hope you guys can come to the next Living in My Truth award show, you know, because I have things for people too that comes on here and support me, you know, the way that you do, and being here from the beginning of day one. So, you know, I like to do things like that. So, hey Marie, how you doing? What's up, girl? Yes, love it. Just love it when everybody comes on. Thanks, Nina. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. See, that's just appreciated. You know what I mean? You know, I really appreciate you sending me a star. It means a lot, and it helps me with my content on this Facebook, you know, so that I can continue to come on and, you know, have you all join me like this, because there's a little thing to this thing, yo, as you go on. I appreciate you so much, so much. You will be honored, you guys that do send stars, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing to do, and I appreciate it. And again, if you can't send the stars, because I think some people feel like, you know, you got to put your card or whatever on there. You know, I do have a Cash App, so you can send these same things, you know, to Cash App. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, yo, I'm going to get into this thing on, you know how we do every Wednesday. We start talking, we come up with something. I don't practice this, or, you know what I mean? I just like to pop some little things off my head, you know, and talk some real, you know, from the heart, you know, stuff. I also want to throw out a very special friend of mine. I want to give her the biggest kiss. Mwah. I'm going to blow it to you if you're on here, but I know if you're not, you're going to watch the replay of this. To, y'all remember Miss Edwina Bell, that was here, comes on the show. She's awesome. She's dynamite. It is her 70th birthday. Oh, she looks so good. She looks stunning, you know, and that's my girl. I mean, God put me with people He know that I need to be around, or need to be around myself, you know, where we, you know, help people. And I love that. She has such a great heart. And I can call her anytime, or she'll call me, you all right, you want to be on the show? Yes, indeed. Like, and some of you that's been on here already, sitting down with me on the couch. And, I mean, you know, just because you did it once don't mean you can't do it again. You know, anytime you feel as though you want to come and sit with me on this couch, you know, just let me know. And you can come sit on this couch. I don't care if you came every other week. Don't matter to me. You know, what we do is what we do, and what we do is needed. You know, and for people to see us, you know, on here, where it helps them. you know, and how we share and how we talk and how we get it in, you know. So a great big happy birthday to you, Edwina. And if I see your name as we go along, stay. I see that, Stacy. Don't think I don't see that. And I don't even have my glasses on. Bring your butt right on back. You know how we do. Absolutely. You know, sometimes I'll be missing you. I had a problem getting on your live this morning, and I don't know why. You know, but I did watch the replay, you know, and sent a little shout out on there. I don't want to feel or sound like that, you know. I was told today, I was told this by one of my colleagues today, and they told me that I was strong, and they like how I don't put myself around certain stuff or certain people, you know, because some people think that I'm better than them. Ha. That was a good one. I told her, I said, look, I don't think that I'm better than you all. Certain stuff I just don't want to sit around. Certain stuff I just don't want to hear. You know what I mean? I'm not better than anyone. You know, I'm just better than I was before. You follow what I'm saying? Before I found me. You know, I'm much better, you know, to put on top of that. And for anyone to think that, you know, I think I'm this and I think I'm that, so be it. You got every right to think and feel whatever you want. You know what I mean? But like I said, I'm not better than anyone. I'm just better than I was. And certain things I just don't do, you know, or want to do, or want to even be around. So if me not choosing to be around, to be honest, a bunch of nonsense, I guess I think I'm out. You can feel that I think I'm better than that. Because guess what? I am. You know what I mean? Those is not the type of conversations I want to have. You know, it's not what I want to do. You know, and everything about me starts with me and end with me. You know, and I'm going to be all right with that. You know, so now you know. You know, that's what I had to tell them. Now you know. You know what I mean? Because you know I ain't never had a problem with saying what I had to say. You know, so that's what I told them, you know. And I am much better than what I was before. I feel so good. I feel so great. You know what I mean? Oh, that's a reward to me. You know, not, you know, in the fashion of what, you know, some people think. Oh, she thinks she this, she thinks she that, she thinks she this. People could say whatever they choose to say. It's okay. I'm not mad. I'm not going to hate on it. I ain't even going to anticipate it, you know, really no more. I'm just sharing it because I choose to share it, you know, and that's okay. You know, in my addiction, everything I did, that's the same way people going to always, who know, going to remember me as the things that I used to do, where I used to be, how I used to do things, you know, knowing I was an addict, you know, addiction, whatever, knowing that I used to steal, you know, stuff like that, you know, back, you know, in the day or whatever. Hell, I was stealing back in the day before my addiction. You know what I mean? Just, it was all part of it. I know all this was part of it because it's something that, you know, I've done under the influence. I was doing weed, you know what I mean? But just under trauma, I'll put it that way. I can characterize that with young trauma, you know, and not having or not being able to have or whatever. So I stole it if I had to steal it. It didn't matter. It could have been a freaking cookie. I'm going to steal that too if I want it and I have no money. You know what I mean? So, yes, I can look back on all that times, and yes, I did change. I did change, and changing was better for me, you know. So, you know, if you come across something like that, y'all, and people say all that kind of crap, you know what I mean? Let them say it. They can say whatever they want to say, as long as you know who you are, you know, because it's all about you. It's all about you and your higher power, you know, and the love that He installed in me allows me to love you enough, to just, don't even fool with you, or come at you or say anything. I think that's probably the type of response that they wanted from me, but not, ain't even worth it. I don't let nobody get in my perimeter, you know what I'm saying, that can try to break me, because I know disease work through people, places, and things, and I just look at you just like that. So that'll fix that, That's right, Stacy. You gotta have boundaries, absolutely. And to be in this field, they should have known better. But some is just whatever. But I'm confident because I admit who I am. I admit what I've done. I love myself for who I become. So sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can't hurt me. Not today. They can't even get my anger or any type of thing like that aroused. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing that today you could say to me that's going to make me feel, I guess the way you want me to feel, because I feel so good. You know what I mean? And my peace is so beautiful. And I know disease is in remission. I don't let it come knocking on my door. But those type of things build me up. So you'll be going through those type of things, especially the people that, even people that's sober, and all that stuff. People always got something to say. I think that's just a common nature thing. People's gonna always have something to say about you, whether it's good or whether it's bad. You know what I mean? But hey, Chanel. Hey, Hud. Y'all know I spot them names. I'm going to shout them out. You hear me? Hey, Marta. How you doing, y'all? But people going to always have something to say. They talk about Jesus. What? Did it stop him? No. So I believe in that. But, like I said, I'm confident, because I can't admit who I am, what I've done, and love myself for who I become, So that's the beauty of it all. You know what I mean? We have to stand our grounds, y'all, as recovering people. And as far as we come, we have to stand our grounds. We have to be aware of disease that brings, itself through people, places, and things. It could be a place you're in, around sometimes some of the things that you're doing, but definitely through people. So that's why it's important to know that, the power of addiction, a power of disease, you just can't just say, okay, disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful, and don't really know what that really is. You got to feel that, you know what I mean? You got to feel it, just like you start feeling the love for yourself, because it becomes a part of you and your emotions and your way of thinking. So you definitely have to feel that. That's why I'm saying when you in recovery, my suggestion is this: everything that a stick and a stone that can be thrown, you make it part of your recovery. You know what I'm saying? Don't let it bother you to hurt you. Let it build you and make you strong. So it just reverses the spell and the whine of how disease work mentally. You know what I mean? To start messing with you emotionally again, over nonsense. If you surrender, and hold yourself accountable and made amends, to anybody, or, about you, the things that you've done, that's the key. That's the key that's going to make you strong. That's the key that's going to make you powerful, because see, you made those amends to God. You know what I'm saying? And then you made your amends to self, and then shared and made amends to others. If anybody is on that step, I believe it's 7. That's why the steps are built the way that they're built. Starting with step 1, down to step 12. It leads you to a normal way of living, but first it helps you to forgive yourself and cleanse yourself. You know what I mean? So that you can get to the point where you can, make the amends to people. You know what I mean? Go to, and places and things, because all of it is all balled up into one. You know what I'm saying? So, with people's houses I went to and didn't do some of the right things that I shouldn't have done. You know what I mean? But, making amends is not easy when you think about the people that you have to make amends to and what you did to have to make those amends, So, I mean, it's rough for some of us. It's hard. And if anybody is watching that's at, that point right now, just do it. Just do it. Because everybody is not going to be forgiven. Everybody is definitely not going to forget about it. You know what I mean? And some may forgive you, but it's never forgotten. So that's all a part of it. And this is all part of your acceptance, from, the people, and places and things that what you've done. Some may not even know that you did certain stuff, as I was with me. You know what I'm saying? And you just do it, because it's for you. It's for you, your surrender. It's for you holding yourself accountable for your actions of whatever the situation was and what you've done. It's for your honesty, getting honest with yourself. You have to release all of that. You have to, be able to, let people know what you've done, how you felt about it, why you did it. You know what I mean? And like I said, some is going to be understanding and some of them are not, but you have to do that for you. It must be done for you, regardless to the outcome of how the other person is going to feel, because you're cleansing self, and you're trying to get better for yourself, and it'll make it not as hard to have to deal with when you choose to tell the truth. It all will still bow down to the truth, because the truth is going to set you free. I promise you that. It take work, but it works if you work it. That's for sure. Hey, Dwayne. My brother be on. What's up, bro? Absolutely. And Norman. Hey, Norm. I ain't seen you in a while. Sometimes the best amends is to change the way you live. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is all a part of it. All a part of it. You hit that right in the head, Norman. Yeah, and that's still all part of, being around certain people, certain places, doing certain things. I agree 150%. That's why I don't hang out anymore like, I used to hang out. I don't know if I could have made certain changes if I was still hanging out. You know what I mean? So it's going to take a lot of things that you used to love to do and you like to do, but it's going to have to be given up to start loving yourself and loving you, and I think I'm worth that. You know what I mean? I feel like I am worth that. So certain things I just had to give up. Hey, nephew Zamash. Love you, Neff. So there's certain things that you have to give up. That's even definitely in the streets. You know what I mean? If your addiction wasn't drugs and alcohol, your addiction could be in the street. You know what I mean? Dealing. It could be, gangbangers. It could be, guns and all that kind of stuff. Addiction is addiction. We get addicted to a lot of things, and a lot of people don't think that that's part of addiction. You know what I mean? Well, it is. You know what I mean? And you have to be willing and ready and prepared for what comes with that. Even in change. You know what I mean? Just to experience that much, I experienced a lot of that with my son. You know what I mean? My son was out there in them streets. Not just was he taking pills and all that kind of stuff. He was addicted to the limelight of the street. You know what I mean? The limelight of guns and, infatuated over all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Movies and all that kind of stuff to make them become like they this person and that person and this person, like that's reality when on there is just a movie. You know what I'm saying? I really believe that Baltimore movie turned a lot of these kids around. You know what I'm saying? I forgot. I'll get the name of it. It'll pop up in my head. Anybody know? Just pop it on. But a lot of that really, gave them ideas on how to do a lot of things. Then it just got to the point now where they just killing and doing all kinds of stuff with no problem. It's just a part of it. It's an addiction. You know what I mean? It's an addiction, and they wound up and wind out with all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So, like I said, this show of recovery, helping recovered addicts and helping people who's dealing with any type of addiction, if you want to be recognized of this addiction and disease, it's a disease to me too. I feel like it's a disease. That's just how I see it. Just watching my son go through what he went through, and then to get clean and get his life better on his own, because it was without me. You know what I mean? For him to make his change as he was trying to do, Street said, no, it don't work like that out here. This disease is revengeful. You follow what I'm saying? Payback's a bitch. We don't care about your life. You follow? And we gonna get you. And that's exactly what they did. You know what I mean? With no caring in the world. For me to say all those people that was out there that night and nobody saw nothing, that's bullshit. I just have to say that, but I had to accept it too, because I have to accept the things that I can't change and change the things that I can, but have the wisdom to know the difference. And me being out there in society like that, somewhat coming up, that's the type of people that was around them. You know what I mean? My bad choice of men and all that kind of stuff, living in the streets and selling drugs and doing all that kind of stuff, they admired that, and me not being able to give them what I could give them, what they want. You know what I mean? The easiest way was to go out there and be gangster too. You know what I mean? Because to be out there selling drugs, you're going to have some gangster in you. It's the way it's developed. It's the way it's developed in the street. Addiction is cunning, baffling, and powerful. Cunning, baffling, and powerful. And it works through people, places, and things. You know what I mean? So when I focus and look on things like that today, you know what I'm saying? I just get deep with it, and realize that it is, because you couldn't get him from off the street. You couldn't tell him nothing, just like you couldn't tell me nothing, and you couldn't get me from out of the street. You know what I'm saying? The power of society is vicious. That's why I say that's the first step of addiction. When we get out there and we make these bad choices and the wrong choices around the wrong people, places, and things, tell me that ain't disease. Cunning, baffling, and powerful. That's for me. That's how I see it. That's why I could talk about my son. I could talk about certain things. Because seeing it, is and living it basically, is walking the walk to talk the talk. So I don't mind sharing that. I don't mind talking about that. Because we have some people that come on here that's living it life. We got some people that's coming on here that knows of what I'm saying is the truth, and it's going to help them too. It's going to help them too. So, like I said, the couch is open for people, who have a sickness other than, and ready to surrender to the sickness other than just, we talking about drugs and alcohol, but this is the priority of what I'm on here for. And then I realized that it's so many people that's suffering and dealing with, situations just like the regular addict, and alcoholic. So this is why I share this way and bring people on, so we all can help each other, because how else is it going to happen if we don't help each other? One person that's off the street and recover from the street makes another person even stronger and want it. You know what I mean? That's a powerful thing. The same as coming off of drugs. It was powerful, when I did that, because it's hard coming off of drugs, y'all. It's not just simple, and it's not just easy, and it didn't just happen overnight. This thing took a while and took a minute to happen. Even when I surrendered, I had to learn how to stay in one place, to stay focused. You know what I mean? Because disease takes your focus automatically. You know what I mean? It's like it takes your soul. You follow what I'm saying? Just pull all your emotions out. And even when you're in the streets and you're doing all that shit, your emotions be gone. We work with no emotions. Work with no emotions, So this thing is cunning, baffling, and powerful in so many different ways. And I'm glad that this live brings people on and bring, people together to talk about certain things, you know, that most people don't want to talk about. You know, I mean, I can't sit around and say, okay, this dealer was this person, this was that, and this was that. You know, wisdom to know the difference. You know what I mean? But I can share about the events. I can share about the things that happen. You know, nobody can stop me from that. You know, to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because the way that the world is made out is dysfunctional. That's how I look at it. You know, and certain things you just don't have to say, but your story can speak for itself. You know, so I share with certain people, you know, that lives have been out there. You know, like the young man that came on, Gene and them. You know, they was willing to share what they had to say about it. You know, just any little bit is gonna help the next person. You know, so I appreciate you too, Gene. I might as well say that, you know, for coming on and being strong, you know, and shared your life. You know, that took 20 years from him locked up. You know, some things we can look at and say jail saves them. You know, sometimes they can go in jail and come back out and do great. You know, it's not the end of the day, you know, but as crazy as it has got, hey D, as crazy as it has gotten now, you know, change is constant. There's nothing constant but change. And now rules, there's no rules. There's no respect and there's no rules. You know, so what get done is what get done. How it get done is how it get done. It's like crazy loose, no stopping. You know what I'm saying? But until you recognize that you have a situation and you have a problem is when you're able to help yourself. You know, even if it takes the lead from where you are, you know what I mean, to be safe. You know, so no, I don't mind, you know, talking about that. And then from the conversation that me and my son had when he was trying to change his life, when he was in the makings of changing his life and changing things about himself, you know, coming back. I mean, wow. I mean, I really wish he was here, you know, to continue to talk about, you know, those type of things to me and things that I didn't know, you know, that was happening out there. It's really bad, you know, and my son been gone, what is it, 15, 16 years now, and it seemed like it was yesterday, so that's a long time from when he was killed, you know, on those streets, and now you just see they just killed. It's just no stopping, you know. It's a sickness, it's a disease, it's vicious, you know what I mean, and 9 out of 10, they get high first before they do it. They psych their own selves up, a lot of them do. I'm not saying all of them, because I can't say that. But for the ones that I spoke to said that, you know, and shared that right here on the couch. But, to get off that. Yeah, to be honest, I forgot what I was even speaking on before, before that. But, yeah. That I was confident and I can admit who I am, what I've done, and love myself for who I become. You know, that's the most beautiful thing in the world. You know, and again, some people will look at you differently, you know, than how you look at yourself, you know, because they still stuck on what you used to do and how you used to do it. You know what I mean? And some people just can't see you making change. You know what I mean? But that's okay, because we got all kinds of people in the world, and everybody think the way that they think. You know what I mean? And most of the time, they need to make change in themselves just with that type of situation. Can't see somebody else's changes. You know what I mean? But it always can bring up something about what you used to do or how you used to do it or what you did. You know what I'm saying? So that's the move for that. You know, you just become confident in, you know, because you can admit, you know, who you are, what you did, what you done, and love yourself for who you become. Everybody grows. Everybody have a growth in them. We're all seeds. And everybody has to be watered some kind of way in order to grow. You know what I'm saying? So whatever your choice is, you know, but don't knock somebody else's. You follow. Hey, Rebecca, I'm glad you came on, girl. Glad you came on. For us, you know, allowing people to get inside you and come in is no. You know, for us, no is one of the biggest words in a recovering person's life. You know, no means no by any means necessary. Like I was saying, no nonsense. I didn't even want to hear all that crap they was talking about. You know what I mean? No means no. It bows down to no. Hear me out, Mike. You know, not just for the fact of drugs. You know what I'm saying? For anything, even if it's a conversation. You know what I'm saying? No. If you don't want to hear it, no. It's just no. You walk away from the conversation, or you let the person know nicely, you know, I choose not to. I choose not to talk about that. I choose not to answer that question. You know, whatever the situation might be. No is just a simple, complete sentence. No. Especially for using, especially when disease is up in your head. No. No means no, by any means necessary. You follow me? You hear me, Dwayne? By anything, any means necessary. No is a word that is a power word for me. You know what I mean? I've learned that. I learned that when it comes to my decision, it is no, it's no. Period. Point blank. You know, and sometimes we have to, you know, say no to things that people aren't going to realize, you know what I'm saying? Or we have to change the subject or move away from, you know, or do what we have to do, because we don't need that, because our sickness can get weak from our thinking. You know what I'm saying? You know, because in order to stay clean, you have to change your thinking. You know what I mean? So we always on that mission, always on that grill. That's keeping things in front of you, not behind you. You know, and sometimes you know when you're around certain people, places, and things, you know how they are as well. You follow what I'm saying? That's the thing. Some people can feel like they this person, or they that person, or they this or they that, because of what you used to do, how you used to be, you know, the way things was for you, and they always looked at you on a certain way, you know what I mean? But they can't make that decision to, you know, forgive you or to give you your props. You know what I mean? Even though you don't go looking for them. You don't have to look for them. Who you have to maintain and keep right is self. You know what I mean? But you just got those people, you know, that you already know how they are. You know what I mean? That you can just be like, you know, oh shit, here it comes. You know what I mean? But prepare yourself for them. You know what I'm saying? Just prepare yourself for it, because things can be going great and they'll say something. Things will be going great and they'll pop up with something. You know what I mean? Like it's okay, you know? But having the wisdom to know the difference can allow you to maintain you on how you going to deal with it. You ain't even got to let them know they get on your nerves or is a part of that. You just, you know. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We have to use our tools. We have to use our medications around people, places, and things. We have to make positive decisions for self, because we don't know what can come out of somebody else's mouth, or what people can have intentions to do. You know what I mean? You just got to make sure you know how to deal with it when it comes. And a simple answer, if it comes to a point where it's antagonizing you, and you know what I mean, they're trying to pull something from you, no means no. Don't allow it to happen, because that's nothing but disease through people, through places, and through things. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. You know, and that's how the disease works, you know, and everything they taught me about how it works is just so true. It is just so true, you know, not just what they taught me, what I have learned, you know, what I can see today, you know, what people bring to me today. And when it's like that, you know what I do? I just look at it like, you know, sickness is vicious. That's what I say all the time in my head. They ain't got to know what I'm saying. They ain't got to, you know, see the expression on my face. You know what I'm saying? But I know, you know, that it's working for me. You know what I mean? And sometimes you just got to let people be people. That's all. Let people be people. But if it come to a point where they're going too damn far, you know what I mean? No means no by any means necessary. Now you're starting to get, you know, affect me. You're starting to, you know, play with my anger, you know, thing. And see, anger is a vicious weapon for sickness. You know what I mean? Somebody could trigger you off, and you know they'll be fine talking mess and doing what they're doing, and inside you, they don't know that that sickness is like this and all that, you know, and flowing, talking, and all in your head, you know, and it can clog it. It can clog it up, and then you be so upset. You do some things that you ain't got no business doing. You know what I mean? Hear this all the time when I'm at work. And then this is what made me mad, or this is what got me, Miss T. And you know, but, ain't no buts. Remember, but is a word of disease. No. No means no by any means necessary. That chops it all down to the point, case closed. This is how we have to be. This is how we have to think. But ain't nothing but something that opens the door. That's it. You know what I mean? But I couldn't, you know, cause and all that. Words are vicious. Words are very vicious, you know, in our world of sickness. Words are very vicious. This is why we have to use the language that they teach us, you know, and to allow us to understand how vicious words are. And it just be the littlest words. Just like no being the antibiotic of disease. Wow, it's the main medication for our sickness. No has to mean no by any means necessary. Saves us all the time. Stops us all the time. Make us see things. Stop. Wait a minute. You know what I'm talking about? You know, it's just a complete sentence. No. Boom. That's it. You know. Especially when it comes to protecting. This is what I mean. When it comes to protecting your sobriety. You know what I'm saying? We got to always know that we got something going on what they don't understand. You know what I mean? We got to always remember the sickness that we will live with for the rest of our lives that we have to keep in remission. Because like I said, I call mine Trey Trey. Trey Trey sleep with me, eat with me. She on here with me. You know what I mean? I move my head to the right, she do too. I move my head to the left, Trey Trey do too. If I lift my arms up, Trey Trey lifting her arms up right along with me. You know what I mean? Because it is me. You know what I mean? And it's me who got loose with a sickness of a mental health situation. You follow what I'm saying? Psych situation that turned my brain around and unloosed it, and all my brain pieces was all over the place until I surrendered, found a higher power greater than myself, got the help that I was denying that I end up getting, you know what I mean, and started finding the pieces to the puzzles and putting them back where they need to be, and then it's just started bringing me back here again for me, you know what I mean, a me that I didn't even know exists. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still doing that today from all the years of being clean. I'm still doing it. It never stops. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't understand. They break their brains up all the time in certain ways. You know what I mean? And don't get help for them, and then you got a problem. You know what I'm saying? And then when you do get help for them, you start getting better. You start putting pieces back together up there in that brain. But you got to have it in your heart to be able to want to do it. And it definitely has to come from the heart, you know, to be able to surrender. You know, it has to be here and here. So what works for one works for the other when it comes like that, as far as I'm concerned. You know, but what works for one may not work for the other when it comes to the getting clean part. You know what I'm saying? You know, what works for me may not work for the next person. You follow? But it's going to work if you continue to work it. You know, there's no time or limit, you know, for somebody to say, well, it only took me this or it only took me that. Well, you're talking some crazy shit. You know what I mean? Because disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful, and there is no timing on that. You know what I mean? The timing is to make change. You know what I mean? You have timing to make change, because if not, you're going to die. You know, using drugs and alcohol, and it's a slow death. It's a suicidal death. You follow what I'm saying? You know, so the words that they offer us are powerful words to make sense to us. It may not make sense to other people, but it makes sense to us, you know, because this is how we have to live with the sickness that we live with, that people think because you don't get high no more, you're not sick no more. You know what I mean? But I assure you that I'm still sick. You follow what I'm saying? I come to believe that, you know, and I believe in the structure, and I believe in everything that recovery has taught me. You know what I mean? And the literatures and the 12 Steps of Narcotics Anonymous. You know, it just all makes sense to the choice of life that I chose to live. you know, and the power that it has, that I couldn't stop doing what I was doing. So yes, it messed with my mental. Yes, it messed with my psyche. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Yes, it messed with my livelihood. Yes, it messed with my motherhood. Yes, it messed with being a sister. Yes, it messed with being a daughter. It just messed with me being a human being itself. And it shows, you know, when you're under the influence of a drug or an alcohol. You know what I mean? It shows, you know, it shows the mental behaviors, you know, that that we become. It shows it. It shows it all, you know, especially the part when you can't stop, you know, and you want to stop, but you can't stop. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, Dad, how am I gonna do this? You know, and by the time you figure it out, you done been doing some crazy stuff. You done stuck some real mental shit, you know, out there doing some of the things that addiction make you do, you know. And when you start, you know, submitting and surrendering, you know, and you think about these things, man, these things hurt. These things, you know, but it just make you say hallelujah today. It make you say thank you, God, you know, for helping me to restore my sanity. That's why it's put that way. You know what I mean? For every step is put a certain way, you know, to help you to recognize and learn how to come back and live a normal lifestyle, they call it. But this is a lifestyle of for me, love, peace, you know what I'm saying? And all of that, man, it's like, it's beautiful, you know, and I'm glad that I was introduced to those steps to help me to come back. I'm glad I surrendered. I'm glad I had people who's sharing like I'm sharing right now, you know, to me. And I try to say things the best that I can, you know what I mean? For some people, you know, be like, well, what she mean by that? Or what, you know, what is this? You know what I mean? Keep watching. You're going to catch right on to what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And the truth of it all is living in your truth. You know, that was one of the reasons why I chose this. Logo, living in my truth. Living in my truth. You know, because when I thought about it from the gate, when I first started doing this, I'm like, hey, I'm trying to live in my truth. You know what I mean? I'm trying to, you know, get past some things, you know, do the right things, you know, listen, learn how to listen so that I could hear, you know, and then so that I could see, you know, based on myself, you know, and all the things that I needed to fix in me and the things that I'm still trying to fix in me today. You know what I mean? It gave me a guideline. It just made so much sense coming from a confused brain, you know what I mean, an emotionless person, you know, that became all of this, you know, and it was hard to get Tracy back, you know, and as I build and as I build and as I learn and as I learn, you know, Tracy is just not the same Tracy that she used to be. I'm her, but I'm better. I'm better than Tracy before drugs. You follow? I think better, stronger, wiser. You know what I mean? I know that I've done some things. I've admitted things. I've surrendered to things. You know what I mean? And things just keep getting better and better. But first I put my higher power back in my life that I turned my back on. You know what I mean? Thinking that he didn't exist and he didn't work for me. You know what I mean? It took time to get to where I am today. You know what I mean? And I'm still growing. And I'm continue to grow. And I'm going to continue to help other people to grow. You know, it's just a thing of just wanting it, you know, and coming to believe in, you know, what I believe in, the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholic Anonymous. You know, in addiction, we check off a list of things, basically. You know, and all the list of things that we say we would never do. You follow? The things I said I would never do. Donald, you follow what I'm saying? You know, in recovery, we check off a list of things that we never believed we could do. You know, so from never, you know, checking off, you know, we check off the things that we said we'll never do, and now, as you know, learning in recovery and believing in recovery, you know, have allowed me to believe the things that I can do. I believe that I can do whatever I choose to do. You know what I mean? Once I make that choice and decision, and that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? And 9 out of 10, it works for me. You know, if I share what I want to do, sometimes, you know, opinions come in, you know, that don't understand, you know, where I'm at and how I live. You know what I mean? It's nothing but, you know, in the way sometimes, you know, basically. So I still do it how the life I live today has taught me how to do it. And 9 out of 10 comes out okay. It does what it do. You know what I mean? Not that it's like, you know, people's opinions don't mean nothing, but when they don't really understand what time it is, and they think they understand what time it is because they looking at me as the Tracy that they always knew, you know what I mean? You know, it goes in their head, well, you know, Trey, and then she this and she that, and that I can't open the door for her. You know what I mean? And 9 out of 10, it builds me up. You know what I mean? And it makes me stronger, and it makes me wiser when I use what I have, you know, that allows me to grow. You know what I mean? My information. And I write this stuff down now. You know what I mean? Because writing was always one of my best friends through recovering and being, you know, rehab. They always taught us to write. You know what I'm saying? So I do write a lot of things down now because I need to, you know, make sense of what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And blood it out from the way that I feel. You know, I tell people nothing changes in you until you make change. You know, a lot of people can come in and say, you know, I don't see no change in her. I don't see this, or I see a lot of change in her. You know, you're going to have that. You're going to have that all the time. You know, some people don't want to see you change. You know what I mean? Some people like you just the way you was, dying. Some people like you just the way you was, stealing. Some people like you just the way you was, tricking, whatever the things that you was doing. Some people just don't have no soul in themselves, you know, to wish for you to find your soul. You know, and they think because they're not doing what you're doing, you know what I mean? We're always misunderstood. We are very misunderstood as addicts and alcoholics. People look at us like we just enjoy getting high. You know, they don't understand the addictive way of living under the influence of drugs and alcohol. You know, some say they can't see, you know, so they're not going to see change. You know what I mean? They'll give you a little credit, but you need to give them blessings. That's what you need to do. You need to pray for them. You need to pray for us always. You know what I mean? And pray for yourself first. Pray for yourself first. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to learn how to love on people than just drop people or don't care for people. You know what I mean? Or because your opinion about people is not always right. Yes, we get high. Yes, we out in the street. Yes, we doing what we have to do. But this is a sickness. This is a sickness. This is a sickness that's cunning, baffling, and powerful. You understand? It is cunning, baffling, and powerful. Well, I drink, I do this, and it don't make me do that. Well, I mean, the way you do it is not the way that we do it. You know what I mean? You may not lose yourself, you know, mentally in this way, but psychologically, you really think that it's not doing anything to you, but it is. You know what I'm saying? It's going to come to a force to you that it is affecting you. You can shop, and you can keep money on you, and you can drink a bottle of this, you know what I mean, or have 3 drinks or 4 drinks. Poison, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? And the mental part of it, for a person to be bougie with it, that's what I call it today. That's a bougie way of speaking. You know what I mean? That feel as though they're in control, but yet you still, there she is. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Happy birthday, Edwina. Here she is, y'all. I told you she was going to come on. Let me give her some hearts. Y'all give Edwina some birthday hearts. This is Edwina that comes on this show and share and speak and give us strength and hope all the time on this show. Give her some stars, y'all. Let's give her applaud of birthday hearts. Let's get it out there. Put it out there for her. Happy birthday, my sister. Absolutely. I'm on you. Look, I'm trying to get it in a little bit. Edwina, look, they still powering you up, girl. That's what I'm talking about. I tell you, this girl, I love her to death. God always put me with good people, I'm telling you. Good people that understand me, understand my sickness, I understand theirs, and we share together and become the bomb. That's the beauty of all of this. That is the beauty of all of this. Happy birthday to you, sis. That's your birthday shout out. You see all these stars? Yeah. But I'm in here talking about some healing pretty much. You know what I mean? Being wise. You know what I'm saying? And where I'm leaving off is like nothing changes until you do. You have to make changes. And a lot of people don't think that they have to make changes. A lot of people think, like I said, do the bougie high, you know, and all of that. Been there too, done that too. You know what I mean? I just took it further. I took it further than they did, you know, and I became uncontrollable. And that's the surrender part. You may feel as though you still in control, and you are to a certain extent, you know, when it comes to allowing it to take you from yourself, you know what I mean, and you know when you have enough, you know what I mean, but drinking is still drinking, and drugging is still drugging, you know what I mean, and disease is a powerful little thing. It makes you comfortable with that, and that feeling, and that saying. You know what I mean? And it takes us time to do what it do, you know? So, you know, affecting the insides and, you know, taking in all this unnourishable things, you know what I'm saying? And thinking that is okay, you know? Well, that's the power of it. It makes you think that, you know? It makes you feel like you're in control, you know? But anybody that gets drunk is drunk. You understand what I'm saying? Anybody that do drugs and be lit is lit, you know? You can come back the next day. I couldn't. You know what I mean? But it started like that. You know, at the beginning of all this, all the same thing was happening with me. You know what I mean? But I chose to continue and do it. And the minute that I hit that pipe and smoked that pipe, I was addicted at that point because I was chasing and running for it ever since that day until I learned how to get clean. You know? So what works for one is what that means. May not work for another. You know what I mean? But everybody start out the same way. We start out trying it, you know, making plan with it and do what we do. You know what I mean? Healing is not about becoming a different person. It's about discovering who you are beneath the pain. You follow what I'm saying? Like some of us, you know, we go out there and we drink and we go party to have fun because we feeling something. You know, we dealing with a situation. You follow what I'm saying? And 9 out of 10 of them the times that you end up getting lit. You know? So this thing has this direction and it does what it do with all of us in the way of how we set ourselves up to do it. You know? Mental. That's what I call it. I call it mental. You know? God has opened a door that nobody, no haters, no devil, or no enemy can shut when it comes to me today. Absolutely. You know what I mean? I'm signing seal with that. You know what I mean? I have the wisdom to know the difference with that. You know, and my thing is the serenity prayer. I say it so much is just a part of my, and there you go, I see those hearts. It's just a part of my language. You know what I mean? It's what allows me to deal with you or anybody else. You know what I mean? If it has to be in a good way or a bad way or a strong way. I know I'm a liar. I know in my addiction, you know, I lied like shit. I lied, I lived the lie. I respect the lie. I lied and I lied and I lied. I became the lie. You know what I mean? Lying was my way of living. You know what I'm saying? But today I surrender to that. Today, I don't do that anymore. Today, I try to live in my truth. You know what I mean? Today, I could talk about anything and everything that I possibly have done or said or can remember. You know what I mean? I have no shame to the game today. You know what I mean? I'm not going to hurt you because a lot of what I got to remember and think about will simply try to hurt me. You know what I mean? But the reason I have the wisdom to know the difference today is to protect me from whatever I need to say or whatever I need to remember. You know what I'm saying? It's just a way of life that God has opened the door for us, you know, as addicts and recovering addicts to restore our sanity and to help us to get well. and help us to get better. You know, this is why we can't get cocky. You know, we got to stay right. We got to stay in place because, see, we don't know it all. We still learning too. You know what I mean? Still learning how to live. Still learning self. You follow what I'm saying? And a lot of us need to follow this in ways. You know, because some of us think that we could do it without God. We think we could do any and everything, you know, on our own. You know what I mean? But that's not true. You know, we're blessed to do what we do. You know, we have a magnifying God, you know, that's there 24/7, a forgiving God, you know. So this is why when people, places, and things can't allow me to be me, you know, still want to think for me, still want to think that they know me. Yeah, you knew the things that I used to do. You need to get to know the things that I do today. You need to get to know this brain. You need to get to know this person. You know, a person that you still see the same because I look the same. You know what I mean? And my name is Tracy, you know, Allen. You know, Tracy Williams. Yeah, I had a few of them, y'all know. You know what I'm saying? But you think that you still know this person, you know, but you won't allow yourself to be open enough to really get to know this person again. You know what I mean? Because see, devil sits in front of you and don't allow you to see growth. It only allows you to see the growth that you choose to see. You know what I mean? This is why, you know, we are such a selfish people. You know what I mean? Because we have to protect that. You know, that's like part of the sickness. You know, we have to protect ourselves from all that. Hear me what I'm saying, Mike? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who it is. You know what I mean? And you ain't even got to let them know. You just got to know. You just got to know what's up with you. You got to know what you have to do, you know? And then you choose to deal with that person the way you choose to deal with that person, even if it's no, I don't want to deal with them no more. No means no by any means necessary. You know what I mean? You are the most important person. And I'm not saying you got to go around and continue to do a lot of things that you used to do, you know, but if you're growing and you're living in your truth, it's only going to get better. You know what I mean? And you're going to know when it's better with you and for you. You know, you have your medication, you have your tools to work with, you have that higher power that you can talk to, you know what I mean, and help you make choices and decisions, you know, other than, you know, we have our sponsors, we have our meetings, you know, we have these people that we love, sisters, brothers, you know what I mean, aunts, uncles, whomever, best friends, or whatever that you can trust in that will hear you for who you are. Not look at you for who you used to be. And I hope I said that right. You know, because like I said, some people can't see it. They'll listen, they'll hear you, but they still won't let them eyes, that sight, you know what I mean, see your change or believe in your change. Okay, so be it. Start with you, it's going to end with you. That's how this works. Start with you, going in with you. You know, I have a best of friends, and he's called God. You follow what I'm saying? And I talk to him all the time, you know, and it helps me to make right decisions and right choices, you know. But the medication that I receive from recovery as I live by today, you know, that powerful word called no is one sentence. No. I'm not even going to deal with that. Or I can't deal with that today. Because, you know, we only get one day. You know, I can't deal with this today. I'm going to cut this off. You follow what I'm saying? I got to get back to that. You know, but I'm not going to stay stuck in where I was. I'm not. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to give it to God. And I'm going to leave it with God. Because I know He's coming. I know He's coming. I just have to wait for the result. And that's called patience. You know, happy birthday, Edwina. Is progress? What does that say? Wait a minute, I can't see it on there. Edwina, give me a minute. This thing has to roll up some. Yeah, I can't. Oh, here it is. Hold on. Edwina said it's progressive, but so is spiritual recovery. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely. I see your heart, Charnel. And Coretta. You too, Dwayne. I see it. Yep. But um God has an open door that nobody, like I said, no hater, no devil, or no enemy can shut. You follow? Like I said, no open door. God has an open door that nobody, no hater, no devil, no enemy can shut. You know, he's a powerful God. He's a magnifying God. Never doubt what God can do with a broken life when you give him all the pieces. I bet that was hot. That was good. I heard that, and that's why I wrote that down. It said, never doubt what God can do with a broken life when you give him all the pieces. It just connected with the pieces I always talk about in the brain, how the puzzle is like a puzzle, and the pieces is breaking all up like in the Matrix. You know what I mean? And trying to get better. Sometimes you try to get the right pieces to go back into the right places. And sometimes some of them don't fit, like a puzzle piece. Look like it fit in that space. And then when you try to put it in there, it won't go in. So we try to force it in sometimes. You know, those are the pieces that you have to let go and go back in. Go back in and try to figure out another way. You know what I mean? To make it work. You know, for you. So if it slide in and it goes in the right piece, it has no choice but to work for you. You know, that made me think of that. You know, how, you know, I use that scenario of the puzzle thing, you know, and seeing that was just something that I chose to write down too, you know, and share that tonight with part of, you know, the live show tonight. You know, your recovery will be 100% successful when you become 100% willing to anything to stay clean. That's what I was just talking about. You know what I mean? I'm going to read that again. Your recovery will become 100% successful when you become 100% willing to do anything to stay clean. Absolutely. Absolutely, this is how this thing gotta be. You know what I mean? The change is the most important thing to you. You know, it says you speaking with wisdom. You know, you know what, Dwayne? I've learned how to. I believe in this. This is my belief. You know what I'm saying? This is what I believe in. You know, so sharing it is not hard. You know what I'm saying? As an addict, if you never heard some of the things that I'm saying, you know, take what I'm saying and allow it to work in your recovery somehow. You know what I'm saying? When I hear people speak, sometimes it gives me the chills. That's the same thing that you're basically saying to me. You know what I mean? When I hear the truth, I know the truth. You follow what I'm saying? When I hear something that's just, you know, sound, you know, like that can work for me too. It's a choice for me to work it or not work it. That's what I've been saying too throughout this segment. You know, everything about you starts with you and ends with you, and your choices and decisions belong to you. You know, they just got to be on the positive side, and what's going to build your strength, you know, and bring your thinking back in communication with your emotions, and then you can feel and think about it. So that means you was listening and hearing, and now you can see, you know what I'm saying? And this is going to work for you. This is going. You heard something that's going to allow you to be better and allow you to be greater. You know, I love, that's like with Edwina. I love hearing her speak. I love hearing her share, man. Her sharing is I mean, just like powerful. You know, just put chills in me. That's how we met. It's a crazy thing. You know what I'm saying? But what works. You'll know what works for you. You said, I always do. That's why I listen, because you bring your heart. I love what I do. You know what I mean? I love the fact that I'm helping people. You know what I mean? I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be able to do what I do and I can help somebody. You know my motto, if I get one person, my job is well done. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's a beautiful thing, and I know blessings going to come to me too. You know, this is how I get my blessings. You know, I can't pronounce this name. I'm sorry. Is it Phasia? Faaizaah. Thanks for coming on. I never saw your name on there either, but thanks for coming on. I don't want to, mispronounce your name. And Stacy, thank you for coming on. Your recovery will become, like I said, 100% successful when you is willing, to become 100%. You know what I mean? I imagine how many more people can get help if we met addiction with compassion and kindness instead of shame and putting down. You know what I mean? That's just part of life, and what people see, what they see, and you really see that. You see that, we out there. You see all the things that we doing. You know what I mean? And it is a shame. You know what I mean? But it's not like we're doing it because we just choose to do it. It's behind a sickness. You know what I mean? That some people just don't understand or know about. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't believe in disease. You know what I mean? Or they just doing their shit. You know what I mean? Because they love doing it. You know what I mean? Don't even take care of their kids. Can't pay a bill. Ain't got nothing. Used to have everything. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's not that simple. It's not that simple to just put this sickness down. This sickness takes work, and it will take each and every last one of us work till the day we die. You follow what I'm saying? So today I can't look at a sick person and just think the worst of them. You know what I mean? I look at them and I pray for them, today. And I ask people to put people on prayer, on their prayer teams, and everybody should be praying for these addicts. Everybody should be praying for these alcoholics because they know no better. They have no control. I'm living proof. This is why I talk the talk, because I've walked the walk, and I've walked this walk with many people that I have lost, that we lost out there. You follow what I'm saying? And diseases of all kinds. And sometimes you just need to be kind and look for something that can help these people or for the better of these people, or come on and get some education and information about the sickness of these people that you think is terrible, that's awful, that's just, want to do what they're doing. I didn't want to be out there tricking. I didn't want to be out there with all that nonsense. I had no control. I'm telling you from the horse's mouth. I had no control. And whatever it said, the voice, which is that psychotic part of me, whatever it said do is what I did, because if I didn't, it tortured me. It made me feel like, I can't even describe the feeling. You know what I mean? But the control of that feeling would make you go jump off a bridge if that's what it tells you to do, which many people do. You know what I mean? It is a sickness. It is a sickness. It is an uncontrollable sickness. When the thing got you, it got you. And all it does is kill. It's suicide, not pleasure. It's painful. We got to get medicine for the pain. The pain is outrageous. It's outrageous. It takes some of us, and we don't come back. It's real. Look at what it really do. Instead of looking at the person and saying they don't make no sense. They can't make sense. They can't make sense. And it takes time because it happens right before your eyes. And you know that. It happens right before your eyes. So the first thing you'll say is, what does it say? Send stars to pin your communication. I hope y'all see that. Send some stars to pin your comments or whatever. But hey, Lynette, what's happening? Yeah, we are sick people. We are sick people. And this thing is a big epidemic now. It's been big for forever and ever and ever. And my boy Bill and Bob, I got to give them all the props, came up with a way where we can start saving ourselves. As y'all remember back in the day, you know, when like Temptations and all the stars and everybody was, you know, drinking and drugging, and they got sick, and they said they can never, you know, won't live anymore. You know, it's no cure for it because nobody put in to try to figure this out, you know, to help them. They had no clue, except these two gentlemen came together and did it, Bill and Bob, and now we have billions of people who are surviving from this addiction of disease. You know what I mean? And one was definitely a doctor, you know, and one was a shop broker, I believe, you know, that put this together, but they both had addictions, you know, and they were sick, but they came together when they got well, and they put this thing together, and they created the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, you know, that would be a possible chance or possible for someone to get through this drug and alcohol addiction, you know, and God knows, you know, he's the magnifier, you know what I mean, allowed it to work when people choose to work it. And he was always there. That's why they did this. You know what I mean? God puts everything together for a reason, you know, for his children, you know. So when you look at these people, you know, don't just look at them as shame, man, or piece of dirt, or, you know, you give up on your family members, some of you, you know what I mean, and they're just going to die out there in the street. That is exactly what's going to happen. That is exactly what's going to happen. And when they die, and if you have a soul, I know it has to hurt. You know, so try to save them. Try to help them save themselves, because you can't save them, but don't give up on them. Don't give up on them, because they are sick individuals. They become sick. They're not the same person that you knew from the beginning. Even the ones that do the college, even the ones that's been all smart geniuses and all that stuff, this thing don't discriminate. It don't care who you are. You know what I mean? The best of the best of the best is beat down. The best of the best of the best can't get off this thing, because disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. It don't care how smart you are, how big you are, how rich you are. The more the merrier. You understand? If it gets you, it's going to get you. You understand? And you ain't going to know that you've got, you know, gotten. You understand? Because it becomes a normal. It becomes a normal sense to you that it's okay to do what you're doing. How many on here so give me a all right on that one? You know what I mean? I'm going to send some stars out, because that was powerful, what I just said. You know what I mean? I don't care who you are. There is no individual, period, that gets under the influence of a drug and an alcohol addiction and just, you know, because you was smart, or because you had this and you had that it ain't going to get you too. That's what we all say, because I know I said it. I know I said it, and I didn't think that I would go do the things that I was doing, but soon as I said never, it started happening. You know, abuse is abuse. Abuse is abuse. This is what I'm telling you about disease. Disease is disease. It's dis-ease. DIS/EASC. That's where we are when we're getting high, and we're not listening, and we're not hearing, and we're not capable, you know, of hearing and listening. We at that dis-ease, okay? The sickness is there, but until we learn that this sickness is cunning, baffling, and powerful, and it's going to kill us, and we want to get off this thing, and we really want to stop doing this thing, and we go get the proper help that we need for this thing, and then we follow those rules and regulations of the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, and then we get the literatures, and we go to groups, and we go to meetings, and you know, we go to NA, we go to AA, they got CA, they coming up with all kinds of help today, because change is constant, and nothing constant but change. You know, you got lives, you got Zooms, you got everything that's that is here today, that God may grow, you know what I'm saying, and allow us to do this thing to help other people that can help people, versus just letting people die. Because I promise y'all, nobody feels your tears when you when you sick like this. No one feels your sadness. You follow, when you're saying we don't care. You know, no one feels your pain because it's not you. You're not the one that's hungry. You follow what I'm saying? You're not the one that's living in this disease. You know what I mean? But they all see our mistakes. They all see all the things that we was doing. That's what I was just talking about. They can't feel what we feel. They don't see our tears. They say our tears is fake. You know what I mean? They can't feel the pain that we're really going through. You know what I mean? They don't feel the desires that we need for this drug in order to live, that we think we need it in order to live. You know what I mean? We know it changed us. We just can't get out. You know, it's like I said, it's like opening up that door and there's a big ass hole in front of it and you just walk right into that hole. You know, we don't know how to open the door and go around the hole. You follow? We have to go through all of what we go through for recovery, called rock bottom is what we called it. You know what I mean? I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired. It's time for me to get some help. You know what I mean? I know I need this help. I got to go for this help. But do I end up going? You know, I can tell myself that 1,000 times. 1,000 times. And I won't go. I told myself that 100 times before I actually went. But all for the sake of God, I got there. You know, and my plan was not to do what I'm doing today. My plan was to get myself together, get a welfare check again, get food stamps, and go back out there, you know what I mean, and continue to do what I was doing. Because, see, I in the rehab, I wasn't using, but I wasn't changing my thinking either. You know, and this is what people got to understand today. You can go to 100 rehabs, you know, but if you go in there just to stop using drugs and not learn how to change your thinking, you're going to have a hard time. If you end up being repeaters and repeaters and repeaters, called relapse, you know what I mean? Because you feel better, you know, from the beating and the pain that disease has put upon you, you know what I mean, that everything's away and you're going to know how to do it when you go back out there. But if you knew how to do it, it would have never been a problem. So ask yourself that. If you knew how to make this thing stop, you wouldn't have never got addicted. You wouldn't have to go into a rehab. Does that make sense? But you couldn't tell me that I didn't know how to stop. I tried it 100 times. It just didn't work. And every time I went back, I relapsed. You know, once I went to recovery in the rehab, I didn't relapse. But on my own, I relapsed every time. Every time. So I definitely needed the help that I finally made my choice to get, you know, and just hearing all that truth that they was throwing at me because they wasn't playing. You follow what I'm saying? They wasn't playing. So a lot of people coming to rehab today, they playing, you know. They got a plan already before they even get there. You know, some is just allowing rehabs to enable them. You know what I mean? They like timeshares today. You follow what I'm saying? So they make it so easy and so simple for you. You know what I mean? When you're going in these places, it's hard to make a decision to want to get better. You know what I mean? So you got to do the work. You got to do the work yourself. You have to know that the rock bottom is the right bottom unless you just don't care and just know, you know, I'm going to die sooner or later. You know, because that's what disease does. It kills. You know what I mean? And it kills the brain first. You follow what I'm saying? So that you can't think, you know, and it takes your emotions so you can't feel. You know what I mean? So anything else is just, you're going to just start deteriorating. That's what's going to happen. And then that's what y'all see. You know what I mean? That's what y'all see. It's out of control. You know what I mean? It's not dying because we want to die. It's just that our brain, we have no control. And our emotions, we have no control of as well. You follow what I'm saying? So how we going to think and how we going to feel? We got to feed. You know what I mean? We got to feed this monster. We got to feed this pain and this horror. Because guess what? It hurts. It hurts. It's pain. You need antibiotic, not antibiotic. What's that stuff they give you? Novocaine or something that make you won't feel what you're feeling. You follow what I'm saying? This thing is powerful. Powerful. Cunning, baffling, and powerful. Powerful. I can't say it no louder. It's powerful. And everybody on here that's been in recovery, you know what I mean, been trying to recover, or even if you're still using, send some hearts. Let me know that you hear what I'm saying and you know what I'm saying is the truth. Let me know that you're coming to believe in some of the things that I'm saying. Let me know that it's helping you. You know what I mean? Let me know that this thing is real and it's powerful. I ain't fixed. You know what I mean? I'm just well right now because I use that powerful one word, two letters, one syllable, and that's no. And no has to be no by any means necessary. Recovery taught me how to be uncomfortable without self-destructing. That's another thing that I was just talking about. You know what I mean? I don't self-destruct when people say stuff. You know what I mean? I don't self-destruct when people say stuff I don't like. You understand what I'm saying? I don't wear the mask, you know, like wearing the mask before I learned how to unmask myself. It's just that I have unmasked myself to know when somebody is saying something that I don't have to take, you know what I mean? Or I don't have to listen to, you know what I mean? I know how to talk to people who feel certain ways, you know what I mean? If I choose to. You follow what I'm saying? Because no means no by any means necessary. You follow, and no is one sentence. No, I ain't even going to deal with this. You know what I mean? I don't even want to hear this. You know? No. You follow? I'm going to tell you, you know, it is an uncomfortable feeling, and anything that makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to make myself comfortable. I'm going to remove myself. You follow? And I mean myself. Mentally and emotionally. You know, because I know Trey sitting right there, yeah, take that. You know what I mean? Remember how Batman used to be like, bam, slam. Remember that? He used to come about. That's how disease do all up in your head, you know, on certain situations and crazy like that. I'm so glad I could connect stuff with this thing, you know, to keep me on top of the sickness and not let the sickness be on top of me anymore. So let the sickness know that I am aware of it and I have you in front of me, not behind me. You know what I mean? Because I got to be with you all damn day long and all night long. So that means I have to be aware at all times, you know, and I can't get right with you. You know what I mean? Because you're that powerful and I know that. I know that you're strong, and I know that I have to live with you for the rest of my life, but I don't have to do and say as you do and be as you are. You know what I mean? You're gonna chill in this remission for as long as I have that power of saying no. How about that one? I love this stuff. I really do. I love this stuff. This thing is good. You know, sending y'all hearts because I appreciate you being on here with me. You know, I'm going to always say that, and I'm going to always send you hearts. You know, I'm going to say it every time you come on. Who's that? Veneer Bradshaw. Hey, girl. How you doing? Let me see if I can get your statement on this one, because this thing shows it right away on my phone. Don't show all of them, but I'm going to come up and read it. And see what you're saying. Oh shoot, that's worse. Veneer Bradshaw said, you are speaking to me about someone else that I love so much. I'm not trying to handle him, but you are giving me some, it has those dots and I can't see the rest of them. But I'm glad that you're getting something, you know, from, you know, what I'm sharing. You know what I mean? That's the name of the game. You know, that's all God asked me to do was to do this job, you know what I mean, and soldier for him this way. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm so happy that something that I said can help you. You know, give you the chills. Again, you can't save nobody, but you sure enough can take this information back, because one thing that we can do, you know how they say the hearing goes last? They hear you. They hear you. When they can hear you, believe me, they'll start listening. You know what I'm saying? You know how they say when you die, the hearing goes last? You know, we hear you, we just can't control it. You know, you have to surrender, you know, to get the help that will help you put the pieces back together up here, you know, because if they hear you, that means their emotions struck. Like that Batman thing, bam, slam, jam, it does that. You know what I mean? Because we coming out, we hear you, we want it. You know what I mean? We just don't have the power yet of doing it. That sound right? Yeah, of doing it. You know, of going after the help, because it's painful. It's really, really, really painful. It's a hurt piece. It really is. You know, and that's what keep us losing the battle. That's what keep us failing and losing the battle. You know, because it hurts, and it hurts real bad. You know, so for me, you know, I'm grateful that I have the wisdom to know the difference today. I'm grateful that I'm able to help you. I'm grateful you felt that. You know what I mean? You know, God hears me. God knows. He knows that, you know, I do what I do from my heart, you know, and I do what I can do. I don't know everything, but I know enough to share with you. That's for sure. I know enough to share about my life that allowed me to learn all of this. You follow? And like they say, what worked for one may not work for the next, but if I get one job well done, you know? So, I mean, that's how they got me. You know, when people recover, they recover for the next person. You know what I mean? Because all we have to do is help the next still suffering. You know, have this person, you know, if you can watch, you know what I'm saying? They, like I said, they have so many different versions of this live on this technology thing. You know what I mean? You know, I'll talk with them if you need that, any of you. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I know we coming to that time, you know, and I don't even want to get off. I'm enjoying it so much. You know what I mean? But I always write enough, you know, to keep me going, you know, for that hour to hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm going to start coming on more than once a week. You know, that comes to me all the time in my messenger, you know, and I'm trying to get it all together so I can start, you know, rebuilding that and getting another day. And again, y'all, I put my Cash App on there. I'm going to do it again for the ones of you that just came on, you know, and just been on. You can Cash App me if you want to send a donation. I would appreciate it. Or you could send me a star, you know, on here. I appreciate that. Thanks for everybody who sent me some stars. I did see some go past. It's down at the bottom of the page. You know what I mean? I mean, it just popped up on mine. I don't know how I'd be doing that, though. I think when I push the thing. But anyway, you guys can send me a star. Star senders, you know, that helps me to keep my contents and stuff up on Facebook. You know, you earn these type of things, you know, and it helps you to move up. And you know, if I get stars, it still will help me to get like commercials. It'll help me to get people who will invest, you know what I mean, in this, and let's move this as much as I'm trying to move it. Dwayne, you said, we love you, Miss Tracy. Keep bringing it. We out here listening. I believe that, you know what I mean? I'm still listening, Dwayne. I'm still out here listening too. You know what I'm saying? You know, but I'm so glad that I can help you, you know, and today you're still clean. I'm not doing that. You're doing that. You know what I mean? I could say a lot of things, but I'm not the one that has control of your recovery. You are. You know what I mean? And you can do the same thing that I'm doing. You know, I take nobody's treasure of recovering. That is yours. And don't ever let anybody take that from you. You know, they don't fix you. You know what I mean? They're not the ones that got you clean. You are the one that got you clean. You understand what I'm saying? You are the one. These are your blessings, you know, and don't ever let anybody take them. We help people. We share with people. You understand what I'm saying? And it's up to the people to accept it. It's up to the people to do the work, you know. So you are doing great on your own. You're doing great for yourself. You're just doing the right things to stay right. And this is how we all recover. You know, you're doing no different than the rest of us. You know, so welcome aboard, my brother, and keep on doing what you do, one day at a time. Don't rush it. It's going to happen. Look how long it's been now. You know what I mean? Don't rush it. Stay into today. Stay right into today. You know, and don't let disease rush you. You know, to try to make everything happen. You know how y'all be sometimes when we get in young recovery and be like, man, I'll be glad when I can say I got 2 years or I have 1 year. No. Don't rush it. A day starts with a second. A second becomes a minute becomes an hour, and an hour becomes a day for all of us. Even people who don't use, you know, a day is a day. You follow? So don't rush it. So all you do in a day is going to progress into tomorrow if God grants it. Yeah. That's how this thing works. You know? So don't let disease allow you to, you know, be like, one day at a time. One day at a time. Don't rush nothing. Nobody can do the 12 steps in a day. We work on the 12 steps each day that we're blessed with. You know, I want to thank everybody for coming on. Thanks for helping me celebrate at Weena. Thanks for the stars. You know, if anybody sends a Cash App, I'm going to thank you for that as well. Like I said, I will be back on. I'm going to do an extra day of Living in My Truth, and I'll be back on with the boutique. You know, I'm trying to find vendoring spots so I can go out and really put, you know, Living in My Truth out there. You know what I'm saying? So people, you know, can just, you know, let's wear it. Here's one I got on right now. It's Living in My Truth, and this way means on the eye. That's what the OTI means, on the eye. So this is all about what I do, who I am, you know, what works for me. And y'all know I love the hearts. You know, these t-shirts here is $25. You know, the ones with just the prints on them, they're just $15. You know, now you can get them for $10, you know, because of the holidays. I got hoodies, I got cups, I have jewelry, I have pocketbooks, I have gloves, hats, jackets. I have other things that are not Living in My Truth, but some nice clothing and boots and shoes, you know, that are name brand, authentic though. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to bring them out and I'm going to throw them on, you know, in with the boutique. You know, so, I mean, your donation is even buying something from the boutique. This is why I did it, so that I can raise money for LNNT Award, you know. And so far, y'all know we got like about 14 people so far that'll be honored this year, and we have more to come up until June. I would like for you to be one of them. Come on in, get on the couch. You know what I'm saying? Even if we do it by video, that's all still the same. You know what I mean? I need people to come on and share and help me, you know, help people. I can't say it enough. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you just been clean 5 days or 10 days or 8 days. Everybody got a story to tell. Everybody has a story to tell, you know, or something to share that can help the next person. You know, I honor anybody who gets a day clean, you know, or just even want to get clean. You know, you've done a remarkable job, and don't let nobody else tell you that you have not. You know, this work is not easy. You know, for some it's very, very, very hard. You know, people have been out here getting high for a long time, and some of us just get high for, you know, some little time, but it don't matter. Disease is just vicious. You know, so, you know, if you relapsed, you follow what I'm saying? The couch is waiting. You follow what I'm saying? Don't have no shame to the game, because it's part of it. You know, it's part of it. You just got to get back up and fight again. That's what you got to do. You got to get back up and fight again. You know, sometimes people say things to you that don't know that they sending you on a relapse. So you got to learn all these things, how sickness works through people, places, and things. People can say things to you that they don't even realize that they sending you out to relapse. This is why it's good for everybody to watch, you know, so that you can learn things too about recovery and drug and alcohol addiction. You know, they have programs for you too that's on here and on these Zooms, and they have lives with it. It's like Al-Anon. It teaches you and bring you information and education on how an addict works as well. So always know that's there. You know, so, you know, especially when you are enabling us. All right, so again, I appreciate everybody. You know, y'all know I love these Wednesdays, but I am going to come on twice a week. Y'all let you know when it's going to start. You know, I might, you know me, y'all, I just might pop up and just do it. You know what I'm saying? You know, because some people can't meet up on this time of the night. So I'm going to try to do it a little bit more, you know, to give other people opportunity, you know, to come on while we're live. This is what people say. I like to see it live. You know, I want to be able to see it live. You know what I'm saying? Instead of the replay. You know, heck, I watch the replay 24/7. I always got it on. And please, 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 when you get off here, share this. Everybody needs to just push the share button and share this. Please share this. I hadn't said that in a minute. I said, let me catch myself today, you know, because I'll be so excited about other things and trying to push this, the stars and, you know, the fundraisers and everything for living in my truth, you know. So, hey, D, my sis, I'm going to let you guys go, you know, for tonight. And I thank you. I thank you. I hope somebody got something. Show me some hearts. If you did, you know, just send me some hearts and let me know. Job well done. You know, we got through a lot. You know I did. These hearts are to you and all of you for my appreciation, you know, from you. You know, there you go, and I appreciate yours, you know, and God bless you. I'll shut off on with the serenity prayer. God grants me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, God's wills, not ours. I see you guys next Wednesday, or don't forget, I might pop up. Love y'all. Thank you so much.